When people make lists of hidden gems or best games you've never played, it's normally based on opinion. But recently, a website came out that identifies numbers of players for PSN games, called GameStat.com. It's actually really interesting to look at the number of players for all the different Vita games. But what I found most interesting was the games that had the lowest number of players. I'm not sure this is really the total number of players, because for something like Minecraft I would have expected a lot more. But it's a good indication of games that have a bigger user base, and those that don't have many players. I went through the list of games with less than 3,000 players, and identified the 20 that I think deserve more attention. Generally I went for games that have been out for more than 6 months, because they're less likely to get many more new players unless they go on sale. Although I did break that rule in a couple of cases where I really wanted to highlight some games that deserve more attention. Making a game takes a lot of work, even porting it to Vita takes effort, so it's kinda sad to see some of these games get so little love. So if you're looking for something new to play, chances are you haven't played any of the games on this list given how few people did pick them up. So maybe refer to this list, and if you see something of interest to you, why not give it a go? I've ordered this list in descending number of players, not by which I consider the best by the way. GUNDEMONIUMS only had 3,000 players. This is a tough side-scrolling bullet hell shooter. It's pretty challenging, but I enjoyed it. Foul Play only had 2,900 players. This is a really fun scrolling brawler, kind of like Streets of Rage or Final Fight, but with more humour and a great combo system. I reviewed it on my channel, so you can go check that out if you want to learn more. NEUROVOIDER had 2,700 players. This is a brilliant 2D roguelike shooter. I also reviewed this one, and it's one of my favourite games on the Vita. It came out on Switch and PS4 before it was on Vita, so maybe people played it on those systems, but this is one of the best shooters on the Vita and definitely worth your attention. Devious Dungeon 2. This had 2,600 players. This had a physical release also, so maybe people bought it and have kept it in their original packaging. For those that didn't, grab it. It's a really fun 2D platformer. Rogue Aces had 2,500 players. It's a 2D shooter kind of like Luftrausers, but with more structured missions and a lot of content. I really enjoyed it. Shu had 2,300 players. Shu is a decent 2D platformer. Not the best platformer on the Vita, but it was a good game. It came to the Vita way after the PS4 release, so people possibly played it there first. Bodycheck had 2,200 players. I remember interviewing the developer of Bodycheck years ago. It was one guy and he made the game exclusively for Vita back in 2016, when nobody was releasing Vita games exclusively anymore. In all honesty, it wasn't brilliant, but I had a fun couple of hours with it, which given the price tag wasn't bad. This one is surprising to me. Romancing Saga 3 had 2,100 players. I'm one of the few people to really go on about how brilliant this game is, and I can't overstate how good this old school RPG is. It only came out last November, but it is, in my opinion, one of the best games on the Vita. If you're a fan of RPGs, check out my videos and learn more about it. LICHTPEER had 2,100 players. I didn't finish LICHTPEER, but I did enjoy it. You move along the level shooting spears at enemies. The gameplay was fun, although I did find it got a bit repetitive, but it's still a good game. Halloween Forever had 2,100 players. Halloween Forever is a fun but short 2D platformer. I enjoyed it a lot, although I would have preferred there to be more content. PATO Box had 1,900 players. This is a surprise to me. It's a stylish boxing game like Punch-Out, but with more of a story. I did find it very difficult at points, but it's a really good game and I would have thought more people would have played it. Drowning had 1,800 players. Drowning is an interesting experience. It's a walking simulator and less of a game than a visual novel that unfolds as you walk. I found the story quite sad at points. It's not for everyone, but I thought it was a really unique title. Rainbow Skies had 1,800 players. Rainbow Skies is a great strategy RPG with a ridiculous amount of content. I'm really surprised more people didn't play it. If you like strategy RPGs, I do recommend you check this one out. Son of SCOREGASM had 1,600 players. This game is so fun and addictive. It's a real shame it didn't get more players. It's an arcade shooter, so the main draw is trying to get to the top of the leaderboard, but I found that provided a really fun incentive to keep playing. Grasscutter had 1,500 players. This title came out last year, and it's a decent little game, kind of like the mobile Snake game I played years ago. It's not groundbreaking, but I thought it was a fun distraction, and it gets pretty challenging later in the game. Super Life of Pixel had 1,400 players. This was another surprise for me. I really thought this would sell better. It's a 2D platformer with levels themed around classic gaming systems. I did find it frustratingly hard at points, but it was still a really good game with awesome graphics for fans of retro gaming. HABROXIA only had 1,300 players. This is a 2D scrolling shooter that I reviewed last year. It was so much fun, and I really recommend it if you're a fan of old school shooters. Space Jacked had 1,200 players. This is a fast-paced tower defense game. It was a bit hectic, but I did enjoy it when I played it. VASARA Collection had 700 players. This is super low. I think it's partly because people bought it physically and are still waiting for it. But 700 digital sales is surprisingly low. It's a bullet hell shooter, and if you're a fan of that kind of game, then this is worth checking out. Lastly, Miles and Kylo only had 100 players. That's really disappointing. This may be due to it having come out on the Switch ages ago. It's also got a physical release from East Asia Soft, so that number will go up. It's a short and challenging auto-runner platformer. The developers were posting images for months of their porting progress. They clearly put work into bringing it to the Vita, so it's a shame it sold so badly. So guys, this was a bit of a depressing list to put together, but I'm also happy to bring more attention to these games. Which games on this list have you played, and which ones would you recommend to others? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.